Greetings. I am David Kabiswa, a person that is passionate about any subject that deals with personal development. I believe that everybody, given the right information, given the right state of mind, can improve and can grow. Better still, I think that instead of letting circumstances bring us opportunities for growth, we need to be intentional about getting information. We need to be intentional about becoming different people. We need to be intentional about growth. I want to talk a little bit about resilience. What is resilience? Particularly in the context of parenting. And then, is there such a thing as resilience parenting when you bring those two terms together? Resilience, as many of you know, and maybe as many of you have watched in the series, is the measurement of bouncing back. A lot of times people look at it in terms of how do you bounce back? But also, there's an element of a bit of metal. How strong are you? What can you resist? If your parents came late, to pick your child late, would your child, after 30 minutes, think of what to do, or they cry and be helpless and hopeless? What about you as a parent, when the going gets tough, when things like you've been out of employment, or your spouse is out of employment, the money is not coming in as before? How do you respond? So all those are different elements in which we can measure and look at resilience. Ideally, what one would want is that we create human beings that are able to have social skills, to read situations and design appropriate behavior. And should things go the way different from what they expected, the ability to bounce back. Mental health is an increasing subject these days with different responses. Some people hear mental health and just think it cannot be around us, or those are not words I should even use, because they think there's a stigma to them. Right? When they're growing up, they used to say that family has a case of that family. So when it became to situations of marriage, parents would be keen to find out which line, which family, are there any things like that. But you see, that's the extreme. That's the extreme. Mental wellness is just the whole element of taking care of your emotions, taking care of the stresses that you have, anything that would push you off, so to speak. And sometimes we're pushed off just because we don't ask this basic phrase, seeking help. Many years ago, I was involved in the national program of developing life skills for children, and the three broad categories of life skills. And I'm bringing this up so that you as parents also know, when you bring up children, be clear what are you talking about. Category 1, skills of living with oneself, right? A range of skills there, some of which might include self-awareness, self-esteem, coping with stresses, coping with emotions. That is skills of living and dealing with oneself. There's another category called skills of dealing and living with others. Right now, this is external. How do you live and deal with others? And that could involve things like effective communication, dealing with others, negotiation, dealing with others, non-violent conflict resolution. I remember at the time when the country is selecting those values, non-violent conflict resolution came up as a very key thing. We're having civil strife in the country, so they said we needed to teach people non-violent conflict resolution, especially boys. Where sometimes to sort out an issue, muscle comes into place. But then there are other skills in there as well. Peer pressure resistance, it's a skill. Friendship formation, it's a skill. So that's category 2. Deals with the skills of decision making, problem solving and decision making. What is that all about? There are things like this problem solving itself is a skill, and they can be trained into that area. There's decision making, choosing between options, how to make a decision. When you've weighed the elements, you've weighed this and weighed that, and you've reached a final decision, what then do you do? How do you take action forward? In businesses, they use words like simulation. Pilots learn by simulation. Some business courses, they learn by simulation. They let you know, if you don't do it this way, if that decision you took, these are the results. Resilience parenting calls for courage. It calls for intentionality as a parent. It also calls for, you need to know, have the end in mind. Fathers, what element do you want to develop? But there's a very unique role that you also play. All right? How would you want to play it? The whole element of gentlemanliness, how do you model that? Resilience in terms of when the going gets tough, stay in there. You know, the job is tough, I've got a tough boss. How do you teach your children to stay in there? Some of those sorts of things are things that we can look at, discuss, and it is the father can share experiences. Sometimes we don't do too well because the parents think that by giving a positive example of long ago, that's how they succeed. You know that the young people can actually laugh at that. How many of their parents were the first in the class? How many? So if everybody was first, then, you know, that's a cheap way of trying to encourage people. True resilience parenting calls for, you are there, you're present, you are going to be vulnerable, and sometimes it means being vulnerable, but that you yourself are also going to have a foundation that you're basing on. And I want to kind of end it this way. Christian context, religious context, ethical context, all have core values, right? In this particular, I want to use the reference, a Christian reference. 1 Corinthians chapter 13 is a chapter of love. Okay, and verses 4 to 7 talk about that whole element of the attributes of, you know, what love is. Love is patient and kind. Love keeps no record of wrong. How do you teach those sorts of elements? One, Christian homes, Christian parents, you assume that because you go to church and the children have gone to Sunday school, that they've got the teaching. And perhaps they have. But you've got to test it. You've got to test it. You're the parent. Don't think that, yes, they got it in church and hope that maybe one day they will test it out. And when the tests come, when the storms come, the children will be, you know, able. When we have those sorts of elements, one day our children also be getting to the marriageable ages. How are we working with them? What kind of what kind of husband will your son make? Do you know? What about what kind of wife will your daughter make? Do you know? Let's be intentional about it. Concludes is can we help them develop their reading abilities? Can we help them develop their discussion abilities? Discussions with us. All right? And then if they get other social groupings, that's okay. But discussions with us and openness with us is one of the things that will help. Please do not belittle mental health. Do not belittle mental health. Exercises help create a state of the body that can handle mental health. Reading creates a set of, you know, opportunities, attitudes, and exposure that can be, you know, keep people in mental health. Talking. Social groups and social networks are also very healthy in helping our children develop. So I wish you well as you continue to think about the subject of resilient parenting and resilience in general. Parents, let us do what we are intended to do. Some people struggle because they have to be friends and they overrate that above the actual parenting. But parenting means helping people develop the potential they have inside them that they might be unfolded and they live up to their God-given potential. Blessings. Until next time that we meet. Thank you.